No problem. Okay, let's come back to it again. Yeah. Hi, welcome to the National Quiz Choice online news and safe at Hyatt, and I have Mr. Terry Ho, who has just released one of the greatest best fantasies in Southeast Asia. Sorry, I had to repeat that again one time. Hi, welcome to the National Quiz Choice online news, and welcome to my show. And I have Terry Ho, who has just released his first new book. Actually, it's a fantasy. It's called Crown of Earth's Desire, the Forbidden Hill Chronicles, Book 1. And he's going to be telling us how he has established new ideas on how this wonderful characters and places that's come alive in this book. And Terry, thanks for joining us here. And many have asked, how did you manage to come up with this imagination of places that's really known to most people and it's now featured in this book. Would you give us some revelation about it?
Well, I guess as a fantasy writer, I have a lot of ideas and imaginary settings, but loosely based on the kind of culture that one would have expected hundreds of years ago in this part of the world. But of course, in my mind, I have a lot of characters and ideas about people and places, and it's sort of like the story just takes a life of its own, and the characters spin out from this concept. So there's no real secret or special way in which I created this world, but really just a series of ideas and one thing leading to another and playing out in this fantasy land.
Wow. And Terry, many have asked, how did you decide to become an author? Because it wasn't because of pure accident that you discovered that you had time to write. And what was your background like?
I've always enjoyed writing. As I mentioned, I've been writing whether short stories or contributing articles to student magazines and newspapers. So it was natural for me to try to put down some of my thoughts. I always have stories to share. And one of the first few books that I wrote was actually a humorous autobiography, a series of memoirs of just my recollections.
Humor?
Yeah, humor, basically. And so I decided to take a chance and send it to some publishers in Singapore. And I was very lucky because I know that as an author sometimes it's quite difficult to find a publisher, but because publishers sent it to quite liked the stories and decided to publish it.
Oh, wow.
So that was to me quite a nice surprise and encouraged me to do more writing.
Oh, and do publishers in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, do they actually pay the authors in advance?
I'm not so sure because I'm not a big name author, so I didn't receive any advance. I suppose if a very famous author or someone whose book would definitely sell thousands of copies, they may be paid advances, but not in my case. Oh. So I received a standard contract where I receive royalties after the books are sold.
Oh, okay. And being a writer, and as passionate in writing, especially your book, The Crown of Earth's Desire, Book 1. What are the challenges that you faced when you were writing this book? Were there any trademarks and copyright issues that you had to look into?
For fantasy, probably not, because it's all my imagination. So no worries about copyrights of ideas. One time when I was writing, I decided to write a parody of a very famous novel, which I won't name. And I found a publisher who was very keen on this project, but unfortunately, upon further advice from lawyers, parody is a grey line between how much you can sort of make fun of an idea, how much of that is called borrowing an idea, and how much of it is completely original. So on balance, it was decided that this project would have to be dropped. So I was bitterly disappointed, but for my own work of imagination, no worry about that at all. It's all my idea, so yeah.
Oh.
As for challenges for writing, I guess the usual writing challenges, having the time, because I'm also busy with other things, including work, and really finding the time to letting the creative juices flow.
Now, who will be the one character that you hate most in this book? I read this book, but I don't want to spoil it, but I'd probably like to find out from you personally, if there's any one character that you really hate and sometimes you just wish that he doesn't exist.
Well, I guess all my characters are there because I find something I like about each of them, even though I find some of the personalities a bit not the best personalities. I wouldn't necessarily like to have them as a friend, but I think all of them are there because I have some liking for them.
Okay. What will be the one hero from this book that you love the most, and if you had a chance, would you meet him in real life or
So I have a character called the Royal Mage of this kingdom of Terrasse, and he's a rather strange sort because instead of being a very wise old wizard who commands a lot of confidence, he's actually rather nervous. There's a rather nervous little man who is completely terrified of his queen. So I thought that was a rather interesting character. On the one hand, holding such an important office, and presumably he must have some talent or he must in some way deserve that title. But on the other hand, he's so nervous and such a timid character. So to me, that he was a very interesting person. I would like to understand why he's that way, and why he is also someone who's holding such an important position in the court.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in probably the next few more chronicles, I will probably find more revelation in him.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Now, apart from that, about the cuisine, is there any special, unique cuisine that you're going to detail in this book, or the next few books? Because a lot of people are asking, what do they eat? What's there in the kingdom? Is there anything unusual about their diet?
Correct. So I guess the diet is not really very different from what we see today. We have a long culinary tradition too in Southeast Asia, with curries, rice, local cuisine. But I think in the next few books too, they will travel to other lands as well, where they will find more interesting cuisine as well. Yeah. But I think the cuisine also reflects the sort of Southeast Asian simple food, but carrying a lot of good taste and tradition and knowledge of how to prepare food.
Oh, really? So what will be the one unusual cuisine that you're probably able to reveal in your next book or so?
Well, I guess there's some more exotic food in different parts of the world too. Like in some places they eat rather exotic game birds like pheasants and so on. So I would have something along those lines.
So they're going to bring along their ingredients over to those lands and probably have a fusion.
Right.
Interesting. So guys, please do grab hold of these chronicles, the Forbidden Hill Chronicles, and it's called The Crown of the Earth Desire, and by Terry Ho. And Terry, another question for you is that I'm not going to ask about the ending, of course. No, that would be a terrible crime. No, but really, is there one particular adventure that you admire most in this chronicle? And if you had a choice, would you change it?
Oh, okay. I think one of the adventures that I really enjoyed writing, at least, was about when one of the characters journeys to an undersea kingdom, or rather the remains of an undersea kingdom.
Oh, the undersea kingdom,
Yeah.
wow.
Because this is something that is in the legends of many parts of the world, including Southeast Asia, where I think if one knows the mythological history of Singapore, the legendary founder of Singapore, San Nila Utama, is said to be the son of a princess of an undersea kingdom.
Okay.
And so this concept of underwater kingdom is present in the myths of Asia as well as even the West. We talk about mermaids, kings, and in the Chinese culture too, we have these dragon kings who are the rulers of the undersea pavilions and palaces. So part of the adventure of one of my characters is to discover the remains of once mighty kingdom under the sea.
Wow, like the Atlantis.
Yes, right.
Great, I can't believe that. So, but if you have a choice to change it, will you do it?
Well, I wouldn't, because I think it's quite exciting to discover what this kingdom's all about, and I would really like to be on such an adventure myself.
Ah, okay, great. Now, what's next for you now that you finished the first book? Are you in the midst of finishing your second
Yes,
book?
that's right. I've written about a quarter of the second book.
Okay.
And really it's a continuation of the adventure. They will move to a few other lands within the fantasy world, which are not based on Southeast Asian sort of culture. They will be based on other mythologies as well, including Norse mythology.
Wow.
But they will still have a very strong element of the Southeast Asian kingdom Southeast Asia culture and the kingdom. So that's a common thread throughout all the books, but they will also explore other lands.
Oh.
And all these lands will somehow relate to one another.
Will they be going to places like Europe and Middle East?
Places, I wouldn't say Europe, Middle East, because they don't necessarily exist in this other land. But they will be in places which are similar in nature,
Like-
in some aspects.
Like the Middle Earth?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So folks, please do expect more adventures from the Crown of Earth Desires, the Forbidden Hill Chronicles Book 1, and coming up next will be Book 2, and by Terry Ho. And Terry, many of my friends are now asking, would you be preparing a website for this Chronicles?
Yeah, in fact, I have a Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nowadays it's quite easy to use the Facebook to create a page easily where people
Okay.
can find out more about the book, where I can post updates on when my next book events will be. So I have another event coming out at the Arts House on the 7th of August.
Okay.
There'll be a discussion with 2 other fantasy writers in Singapore.
Okay.
And they'll be talking about the book and sharing about their own writing experiences.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, folks, if you are coming to Singapore and you're dropping by here in Southeast Asia at the Grand Hyatt, and if you're staying at the Grand Hyatt, please do contact the Arts House for more information, which is on the 7th of August. And you can find out more information about Terry Ho's talk and about fantasy. And Terry, there's $1 million question most people ask, and that is, what is your secret success in accomplishing your first fantasy book?
Well, I guess I don't have a particular secret. I enjoy writing, and I think, like all of us, there's sometimes where we feel a bit more creative, other times where we feel the story's is dragging a bit. So I think that having a discipline is important in all endeavors, including writing, like finishing a task basically. So it was quite a bit of effort, but I did manage to complete the book, of course, and I really enjoyed the process as well. So my advice to writers would be, aspiring writers would be, if you feel the mood, just keep going. And don't worry if it's not perfect the first go, you always have a chance to come back and revise the text.
Oh wow! And how many times have you revised the text?
Well, quite a few times. Different passages would take a different amount of reworking.
Okay.
Sometimes if you find that something isn't really working so well, scene just isn't working so well, come back, maybe put it aside for a while, come back again and have fresh inspiration.
Is there any mentor that you admire most who has actually helped you in your writing so far?
Well, I admire the writing of many of the writers that I read. Fantasy writers, some of them are still alive, of course. Personally, I don't have a particular writing mentor here in Singapore, but I'm also very grateful to all the publishers who, over the years, given me some good pointers and advice. One of them is right now the Straits Times Press, but she was the one who published my humorous memoirs.
Oh, okay.
And of course, my publisher for this book has also been very supportive.
Amazing. Well, I must say that Terry, you've done a great job. I enjoyed your book. And for folks out there at the Grand Hyatt hotels and worldwide, I'm Robin Stienberg here at the National Quiz Choice Hyatt. Thank you for joining me. And please do not forget this great book, Crown of Earth Desire by Terry Ho, The Forbidden Hill Chronicles, Book 1, and coming up Book 2 very soon in good leading stores. And when will the Book 2 coming out? Do you think?
It would depend on how long I take to finish it, but I'm hoping that I will be able to finish it by the end of the year, and hopefully you can look at it maybe next year. Yeah, hoping that will be out next year.
Don't worry, you're gonna make it. And folks, you got the answer. Come by next year, even in Singapore. And if you love to have Terry Ho to come to your bookstore, please contact him directly on his Facebook, and he'll be glad to have his book signed and given out to all of your folks in your own town, here in Southeast Asia or anywhere else in the world. Have a good day.
Thanks, Robin. Thank you.
No. It's my pleasure because it's